Hello, and welcome to, I think it's part 4. I can't really remember. Doesn't really matter. This video we're going to look at the time device. I guess the sort of beginner loop would probably be the Enchanted Earth. I mean, there is smaller loops, but in terms of skipping levels, it's the sort of the beginner just skip a whole level loop. We're starting to get into the more tricky loops. And when I say tricky loops, the issue really is that it becomes easier to fail them, and I have clips of me failing loops which I will show after I show the actual loop. Also, this is, I don't want to say the first loop that Analog's required, because if you're actually doing a run, this is actually the last loop of the game. But it's possible if you do this loop wrong to basically soft lock and your run's basically over, like in the second last level, because it's a time device and then it's the last level, the Zarek Slayer. But anyway, yes, this is the first loop where Analog is actually required. And this loop actually only has 2 movements, which I will discuss now. Unlike the Enchanted Earth level, there's no movement to do the loop. You don't have to run through the level to get to a place to get out of bounds. In this level, you spawn and just turn right and jump off the edge. So you'll spawn in the level and you'll go to your right and you will jump off. You don't immediately want to close the imagery. What you want to do is you'll see the camera start to turn, and eventually the camera will suddenly jolt. And as soon as the camera jolts, you want to close the imagery and hold upright on the analog stick and keep holding upright. Now, if you've done this correctly, you will end up below the exit trigger. Then what you want to do is you want to hold, and this is why you need analog. You don't want to hold down, and you don't want to hold down left, but you want to hold slightly to the left of down. And I'm going to have a video here showing you what happens if you hold too far down. And you can technically recover from it, but there's a chance that you'll mess up and you'll get stuck. So, to recap, you spawn on the level, you turn right, you go to the ledge, you use the M3 glitch to jump off past the kill triggers. You let the camera turn, and as soon as the camera jolts, you close the imagery and hold upright. You keep holding upright until you get to below the exit trigger, and then you hold slightly to the left of down, and this will probably take a bit of trial and error on your part to work out where on your controller that'll be. I play using a PlayStation controller, so it is slightly to the left of down, but if you're playing with like an Xbox controller or something, this might be more difficult for you. And if you hold slightly to the left of down, eventually you will just complete the level. It's simple as that. So I'm going to cut to the videos here of the successful loops and some of the problems. So this first clip is of a successful loop. You see me eventually jump out here, and as I say, the camera jolts, and that's when I close the imagery and start holding upright, and you see it slides along. And I'm still holding upright here with circle, obviously. All loops hold circle. And I'm below the exit trigger, and I'm just holding slightly to the left of down, and it does this, the camera does this. You just keep holding it, and the level ends. But it can go wrong, as you're about to see. In this video, you're about to see a failed loop. You see me jump out, and the screen jolts. There's a difference here between, if you compare my successful loop to this loop. My successful loop was on console. This one was on emulator. You notice it was a bit different there, even though I'm holding the same inputs. For whatever reason, it just does that in emulator. You'll see I will land at the exact same place though. But what you're going to see is if you hold too far down. As you see, I landed the exit trigger, but I'm holding too far down here. And it's pushing me down to the tracks. Now you can hold up here and go back to the tracks, which I think I do. Yeah, right. So sometimes when you're doing this, you can get stuck there. And this is basically a soft lock. There's an invisible wall between you and the exit trigger, and I know it's kind of unusual because if you watch the successful loop, I actually land on the track behind that track, and I get it. I'm not actually 100% sure why that works, but as you can see, I can't get out of there. I'm just stuck there. So that's a reset. There's nothing you can really do about that. This clip here is a successful loop, but it's not how you're meant to do it. This is how you can sort of recover if you hold too far down. The key to this loop is that the tracks you'll see that I'm under, you want them to be straight, or straight-ish, and you will get it. What you're basically doing here is that you're trying to hold down below the exit trigger, so you'll basically land on top of it. That's really what all the loops are all about. So I mean, this is me holding slightly to the left, and it's turning me far to left, so I'm below the tracks. And I go down to the train, and I hold up, but I hold, instead of slightly to the left of down, I'm holding slightly to the right of down, and I just basically was able to sort of balance it out so the track straightened up, and I got it.